Hello everyone, my name is Mustafa. Welcome to today's edition of Managing PostgreSQL Database on Cloud SQL. For today, we are exploring the Challenge Lab, which is the last lab for the series, and it's going to evaluate us on how far we've understood all the things and all the tasks that we've been given in the previous lab. So you would see me referencing the previous lab along the way while I copy some codes that we'll be using to solve this challenge. So let's get started. As usual, we'll start our lab by clicking on Start Lab. When we click on Start Lab, we'll open our lab in an incognito window. So copy the password. The username gets copied automatically. So we have to paste our password in here. Understand? So we are good. You can see this is my home page and this is the project that I'll be using for this lab. So the first thing I want to do, as usual, so you can take a look at the scenario, you can take a look at the overview. So you would be given a set of tasks to perform. So like I explained, all the tasks have been covered in the quest that we've done. So this is the last part of the quest, which is the challenge lab. So you would not be given a step-by-step instruction. You just take initiative from what you've learned previously. The scenario for this lab is your employer has a standalone PostgreSQL database on a compute instance virtual machine. You have been tasked with migrating the database to a cloud SQL for PostgreSQL instance using database migration service and VPC peering. You are then also required to configure and test Cloud SQL identity and access management database authentication on the migrated instance. And finally, enable backups and point-in-time recovery so that the database is protected. You are required to confirm that the point-in-time recovery works by using it to create a clone of the database to a particular timestamp. So this is pretty straightforward. The tasks are quite enormous, but we'll take it little by little and hopefully we are able to complete it. Let's get started. Then we'll go back to our Google Cloud homepage. So we activate Cloud Shell. After activating our Cloud Shell, we'll wait for it to spin up our Cloud Shell instance and connect to our Cloud Shell instance. So the first thing we'll do is just the little house cleaning. So gcloud auth list just to authenticate this. Authorize this guy. Then another thing we'll do is the gcloud config list project. Make it medium. Okay, so we are good to go. So another thing we are going to do now is let's take a look at the instruction. So we've done this. So the first task, we want to migrate a standalone PostgreSQL database to a Cloud SQL for PostgreSQL instance. So as usual, we know that the first thing that we have to do anytime we are doing a database migration job is we have to enable our database migration API, our service networking API. So that's the first thing we would also do. Under the marketplace, make sure you copy it very well without no white space. Then we enable this API. So okay, enable the API. And when the API is enabled, we can now go to the next stage. So we've enabled our database migration API, and that is why we have an option to disable. So just going to copy the next one, which is service networking API. So paste my service networking API here, and I have the result here. Copy it. Then I enable this API also. I've successfully enabled both APIs that I'd be needing for this lab. So let's keep following the next tasks. So the next thing we want to do is we want to upgrade the target database on the Postgre virtual machine with the PGLogical database extension. So this is what we are going to do. We'll go to our virtual machine. Our database is first on our virtual machine at the moment. So we want to first migrate it to PostgreSQL on Cloud SQL. So this is our virtual machine. We can SSH into the virtual machine. So all these stacks that I'm following, they are in the first lab of this quest, which is Migrate to Cloud SQL for PostgreSQL using database migration service. I would also be copying some code along the line from here, but let's keep going. I'll authorize this. So the first thing we want to do is we want to upgrade the target database. So to do that, we first do sudo apt update. So we have that, and after that, to have the PG logical, we'll do sudo apt install, then the name of what we are doing. So the name of what we are doing currently, which is this Postgre 13 PG logical, just copy it here. And paste that. So it has also successfully done that, and which is so that we've upgraded this one with the sudo apt update, and we've installed and configured the PostgreSQL database extension on the standalone virtual machine. So the next thing we want to do is we want to complete the configuration of the PostgreSQL database extension by editing this part and also editing this part. So to edit this part, we can copy the path to the file. So when we copy the path to the file, we come here and do a sudo nano, paste the path, click on enter. So we now have to edit this here. So to edit this here, we have some commands that we can use, and I'm just going to copy the values from the previous lab. So here I'm just going to go back to this one. When I go down, so these are like pretty what we need on the nano. So it was on the cloud storage bucket, but for this one I'll just edit it in the nano. Things that are like not necessary to add here, these are just pretty what you copy, and after you've copied that, you'd press Ctrl O. You just have to save, Ctrl O, then enter, and Ctrl X. So we are good about that. So the next thing we would also do is that we would also, so let's go back to our instruction. We have to edit this file and allow access from all hosts. So to do that, we copy this part once again. After copying that part, we do a sudo nano and paste the parts here. Click on enter. So you just go down, and after going down, you have to allow access from everything. And to allow access from everything, you just have to type host all, then the IP and the IP address to allow access from all hosts, which is 0.0.0.0 and /0, and we have our MD5 as the peer. So after that, also Ctrl O, you just save it, enter, and Ctrl X. So we've successfully edited the configurations that we need here, and we are pretty good to go to the next instruction. So we have to like restart the PostgreSQL for all these things to get configured. So the code to restart it is just you can also copy the code from here. So I'm going to have all this code on the description of the video, but also you can also copy this code from here. Also, this is just the code, this sudo system restart, this one, copy it. So go back to our lab and you can just paste it here, so you get automatically it's going to restart it for us, and now we are done. So the next thing we want to do is, from our lab, we want to create a dedicated user for the database migration on the standalone database. And to do that, we have to like launch into our database with using sudo su, then postgre. So we are in, and after that we'll launch the PostgreSQL. So here is our database, and you can first list all the DBs that are on the database by using /l. So we know all the DBs that are there. So we want to now create a dedicated user. So taking a look at all these DBs, we can see that only two are like very important, which are the orders and the postgre. So this template 0 and template 1 are just created by default, which are like pretty things that we do not need. So we are majorly concerned about the orders and the postgre at the moment. So let's go into the orders. Let's go into the orders. That's fine. You can also go into the postgre, but yeah, so we are in the orders now. So we want to create we first have to like add PG logical extension to the database that we are doing, and to do that we would use create extension, then PG logical, just then confirm if you are writing the correct thing. So we are done with that. We'll also go into the PostgreSQL database. So we are in the Postgres, and you would also use the similar command. And so we've done we've added the PG logical database extension to both database, so we can do a /q and exit this. So let's see what the instruction is telling us to do. So we are still on course to create a dedicated user. So the next thing we want to do is we want to like create the user, grant it the require permission and everything. So to do that, I'll just take a look at the code from the previous lab that we've done, which is the one that I'm referencing, so that you can also see where I'm getting it from, and you can see that these things are actually what we've done. So this is just the code that I used previously here. So for the next thing that I'm going to do is to create a new user with a replication role. So I can just copy this command, but while you are copying this command, you must take note that the owner of this one is a different thing entirely. The migration name we are asked to use here is import user. So if you copy, and the one that we are using here is migration admin, so you have to be careful of how you copy the code. So I'm just going to do it little by little. Or another thing you can do is you can just copy this and maybe use a text replace tool. So let me just see. Let's use a text replace tool. So here we are. I can just paste everything here. Let me copy once again. Okay, I think it has pasted it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to replace migration admin with import user, which is our username for this task. So I'll ask it to replace text. So it has replaced it, and I can easily copy everything here. After copying everything here, I would also go back to this place and input everything. Then click on enter. The thing that we are missing on here is that we have to also go into the PSQL again. So go back into our PSQL, and now we can now paste our command. And you can see that we've created the role, we've altered the database, and we've also altered the role, which is just what we want to do for this. Okay, I think we are almost good to go. And taking a look at the instruction once again. So the new user that you create on the standalone Postgre installation on the Postgre VM virtual machine must be configured using the following username, and we also have to grant the user the required privileges and permission for the database to be migrated. So when we were covering this migrate to Cloud SQL for PostgreSQL using the database migration service, we mentioned some requires permission that you have to give a user that you are migrating with, which are all these things. So because you have to put them in a format whereby the destination is able to receive what is coming from the source, and the source here is the database on the virtual machine. So all these instructions, all these schemas, they are like required for you to set on your source before you are able to migrate them to the destination. So, and like I said, we are only concerned about the Postgre database and the other database. So I'm just going to copy this, and when I copy this also, don't forget that we have to replace all this the username from migration admin to the username that we are using for this lab. So you can paste it here. So pretty much the same thing. I'll just ask it to replace text. So when it has replaced the text, I can copy everything here. And copy everything here. Go back to my database. Paste this here. Click on enter. So there's something wrong. I'm just going to do it little by little. Copy this first. So thereafter I can now copy the other command. So to copy it from here. And paste everything here. So you can see that it has granted all the required permission that we want. So the same thing we did for the Postgre, we have to also do it for the others. So I'm going to go into my other database now by using this one. So I'm now in my other database, and while I am in my other database, I'm also going to do the same thing. So when you take a look at this instruction, the same thing you did for the Postgre, you have to also do it for the others, and we're going to do it there. So I'm going to just copy this one. Pretty much same thing. It's pretty much same thing, but you also have to like change everything that you did there. So I can just copy this and paste it once again. So I'm now in my other database. Paste all the code once again. Click on enter. It's also going to grant all the required permission on the other database. So the next thing we also want to do, we also have to do to complete the task, is that we have to grant permissions to the public schema and tables for the other database. So, and by granting permission, because we typically want to like edit it along the line, so you have to grant permissions to those public schemas, and to do that we just have to copy this code. So one thing you can do is that you can first take a look at everything on the other database so that you can be sure of what is there. So yes, sample is that now I am on my others. I can do a list. So or I can do a DT when I'm on my others, something like this. Yeah, so a DT. So you can see that I can see the list of the tables that are here, the distribution centers, the inventory items, the order item, the product, and the user. And these are like all the things that the schema is public. So these are all the things that I'm going to run the configuration on. So take a look at all these table names: distribution center, inventory items, order items, product, and user, and take a look at the command that we want to use. So you can see we have the distribution centers, the inventory items, the order items, the product, the users. So depending on what it's on your database at the moment, that's depending on what you are going to grant permissions for. So yeah, the codes are not just coming from nowhere. So you're actually using what is on your table to set that. So I'm just going to copy this guy, and don't forget I also have to change the username. So we also want to change migration admin to import user. So ask it to replace the text. Copy all this here. After copying, we'll also now grant the necessary permission here. So we've granted that once again, and that's pretty much it for now. Let's see where we are on the instruction. Grant the user the required privilege permission to be migrated, and okay, after that they also want the database migration requires that the migration user has privileges to specific schematas and regulation of the target database for migration. In this case, that is the others database, and you can see that most of all these public schemas that we are doing here were on the others database. So the next thing we also have to do, we also have to like alter some table rows, and so that the database can be able to like access this. And what we are going to do is, if we take a look at the previous lab, that's the lab that we did that showed all the instructions that we needed. When you go down, you can see that at this stage we made the migration user the owner of the tables in the other database, so that we can be able to edit the source when we eventually test our database. So what I'm doing here is that before I do that, I'll show you the current owner of this tables on the others database, and I'm now going to like alter the ownership to the migration admin or to the username. In this case, it's the import user in our case. So this is what I'm just going to do. Okay, take a look at it. So we've previously run the command before. You can see that everything here, the owner is the Postgres, the owner is Postgres, and the owner should not be the Postgres. The owner should be the admin that we are migrating. You know, the owner should be the username of the admin that we are migrating from. So this is what we are now going to do using this command to alter the database. So just copy out this one here, and after that we'll see the effect that it has on the data. So let's replace the text. After replacing the text, copy this here, and we can go to here, paste this guy, click on enter. So it has altered everything. So I'm going to run this previous command, dt, and you can see that the owner have now changed from Postgres here to the import user, which is our username for the migration. So this is also something that is required. And after that, we have to set the primary keys as specified by the instruction. So the database migration service requires all tables to be migrated to have a primary key. So let's set the primary key on our table, and to do that, we are still in orders. So to do that, we can just use the alter table, and so I'm just going to say alter table, and the table that we are majorly concerned with is this inventory items. There's the inventory items here, and we would add the primary key. And we'll call our primary key ID. Sorry. Click on enter. So it has altered it, and after it has altered it, you can just exit this. Can exit the shell now by using /q, and we are out of the order table at the moment. So we can take a look at the instruction once again and see if we've done everything. So make sure that all the tables in the database have a primary key before you start migration. So one thing you can do is, we've done everything pretty much have a primary key ID. So probably since we set the primary key ID on the inventory items, it's more of like replicated everything on all other tables here, which is fine, because now we are trying to like do it individually, and it's letting us know that each of them already have a primary key, which is nice, and I think that's also quite okay. So I'm just going to go out of the PSQL tool, and after that, take a look at the instruction for our lab once again, which is everything here. So the next thing we'll do is we'll spin up a continuous migration job. So let's prepare, let's see if we've prepared a standalone PostgreSQL database for migration to Cloud SQL for PostgreSQL. So I think we've pretty done all the setup, and you can see that this step is complete. So one thing I'm going to do now is that I'm going to migrate the standalone PostgreSQL database to a Cloud SQL for PostgreSQL. And also the steps are pretty much in this lab, but they are also straightforward. There are things that you can do without even taking a look at the lab. So one thing I'm just going to do here is go back to our console. Now go back to the migration service. Under the database migration, click on the migration jobs. And as you all know, and as we've always reiterated here, before you can create a database migration job, you have to have a connection profile that will be used for the migration job. So either you create a connection profile before you start your job, or you create the connection profile while you are creating the job. So I'm just going to do the latter. I'll create a connection profile when I'm doing the job, because it's going to prompt me if there are no existing connection profile. So a connection profile can be used for multiple jobs. So that's the logic. So the migration job name that I'll be using here, I'll just use a name that's similar to the virtual machine that we use. And the virtual machine that we use, the name for the virtual machine is this PostgreSQL. So copy this guy. And I'll paste it here. So I can just add maybe like migration. So that's pretty descriptive. The source database is PostgreSQL. The destination database is Cloud SQL for PostgreSQL. So what's our region? They want us to use US East 4. So we can choose a region in US East. Okay, yes, East 4. The migration job type is continuous. And after this, we can save and continue. So like I said, so when we want to define our source, if we created a connection profile before, we'd be able to see the connection profile here. But since we did not create it before, we just have to create it now. So for the connection profile name, we would use the VM name also. Just going to copy the VM name, PostgreSQL VM. So for the ID, you can leave it like this. For the host name would be the external IP of the virtual machine that hosts the database at the moment. So let me duplicate this tab so I don't have to do back and forth. And yeah, I can go back to the virtual machine. So I'll just copy the external IP address of the virtual machine under compute engine, virtual machine instance. And here is the external IP. Copy the external IP here. So go back to our migration job. For the username is as given here, and our username is import user. Paste it here. Our password is this. So make sure you copy with the exclamation mark. Feel free to choose your password when you're building this on your own for your personal stuff. So this is our connection profile, and you can just click on create. So our connection profile gets created, and after our connection profile is created, we'll click on save and continue. So after that, we have the destination, and under the destination, they want us to use a destination instance ID. So the destination instance ID they gave us is this, so you have to copy it. This is our destination instance ID. We also have our password. The password is super secret, and you can look at it here, super secret with the exclamation mark. So they want us to use a PostgreSQL version of 13 to configure the public IP, private IP, to do a standard machine type of 1 vCPU and 10 gigabytes of memory. So the 13 is not available on Enterprise Plus, but it's available on Enterprise. So select Enterprise and click on 13 here. So you can leave this as default, you can leave all this as default, and go down, select the private IP, and after we select private IP, we would allocate and connect. So it will take a few minutes for this to get allocated and connect. I'll fast forward it and see you at the end. Yes, so it has allocated our IP for us, and we now have the public and private IP created. So we'll choose the machine type we want. Did they ask us to touch this? No, so that's fine. We'll just go down. We have SSD, we have 10 gigabytes here, and we are good to go. So we can click on create and continue. So let's create the destination and continue. So for connectivity method, select our connectivity method, which is VPC pairing, that's what to use in this lab. And before we can continue, the destination has to be done. The destination takes pretty like 5 to 10 minutes to get created. So I'll fast forward it also and see you at the end. Yes, so the Destination is now successfully created and we can configure and continue. After configuring and continue, I would like to test the job before I start it so I know that everything is right. So let's see what the test result would bring. Yeah, our job is fine, which is great. So we create and start the job. So it's creating and it takes a while also for the job to be successful. But I'm going to fast forward it along the line. But before I do that, so be here and you'd see the status changing. So the status will keep changing till it gets to running CDC in progress. So when it gets to running CDC in progress, that means it is done. And you'd also see this mark. You'd see it as done. So I'd fast forward it and see you at the end. Here we are. So it's now done and you can see it running CDC in progress. So we are good. Let's go back to our lab instruction and check our progress. So we've completed this also, and we can now move to task 2. So task 2 is pretty straightforward, which is just to promote a Cloud SQL to be a standalone instance for reading and writing data. So, but typically, before you promote this, it's always good to check and see that, oh, this thing actually works before you promoted it. Now it's set successful, but we've not verified it. So how you can verify is more of let me duplicate a new tab. To verify this, you go to your Cloud SQL, which is the place that the job is supposed to be. And in our Cloud SQL, you can see the database that we just did. And look at it. So a good thing to do is maybe to just enter inside and verify if the data are actually as you want before you now take it to a standalone. So I'm just going to do that. So click on enter to authorize, and don't forget the password that we set, because we have to put in the password after this. So the password that we use for our database is this super secret. I'm going to copy it, enter my password, click on enter. So I'm in my I'm in my database, so I can do a list of database, and let's see the database that actually got migrated. So you can see we have the orders, which is the Cloud SQL external sync, the Postgre, which is the Cloud SQL external sync that we actually created, which is nice. So okay. So I think we are pretty good to go, unless if we just want to be more inquisitive and say a select star from orders. I don't think this will work because we've not entered into the other database. So let me do that first. So I have to put in the password again. So the same password is still the super secret. So now I can do a select. I can even list the database that are here. Let's see the tables. So you can see the tables. So the tables that were coming from the virtual machine, we can see that they are now here. So which is typically what we want. And with that, I think we are also good to go to see that it actually got migrated. So let's not waste much time and just go and promote the job, which is the next instruction. So to promote the job, go back to the job under the migration job, click on the migration job. When you click on it, then you have an option to promote the job, and you can now promote it. So click on promote, and yeah, so when you promote, what the promoting does is that it disconnects the database from the source. It now it disconnects it from the source, so it will now be a standalone. That means the database will now work from the Cloud SQL. It's not going to work from the virtual machine again, because you've migrated all the things you need from the virtual machine, and now you've now disconnected it. But when it was still connected, any change in the virtual machine will get automatically replicated on the on Cloud SQL, on the PostgreSQL for Cloud SQLs. So when I promote it now, it's going to disconnect the source and it now becomes standalone. So let's disconnect it. So it takes a while also for the promotion to get complete, and you would see the status here. So you can see running promote in progress. You see the status till it gets to completed. So fast forward it and see you later. You can see we've successfully promoted the job, and here we are now. So that's good to go. Let's go back to the task, and we can see we've completed this task also. Yeah, task complete. So for task 3, we want to implement Cloud SQL for PostgreSQL IAM database authentication. And how can we do that? So one thing we would also do now would be working on the job that we've just migrated. So here we are. This is our database, and under that we can go to the connection, and we click on the connection. Under networking, so if you, like I said, if you followed us in the previous lab in this quest, you'd be familiar with all these things that we are doing. So we'd add a network, and while we are adding a network, we have to, this will be the name. I'll call it a Postgre virtual machine. Copy it here. And the network that we'll use, the IP address we'll use here will be the external IP of the virtual machine. So I'm just going to copy the external IP of the virtual machine. And here we have, then click on done. So when you click on done, it's going to, and after that, when you click on done and you save, it's now going to like enable this thing that we are doing. So while it's saving, you would see the progress here, which is showing this. So, and it will take a while. I'll fast forward it and see at the end also. Yes, you can see we are done and it's now edited. So it pretty just took like 2 minutes or less than that. So the next thing we will also want to do, as specified by the lab, is to create a Cloud SQL IAM user using our student ID as the principal account name. So I'll just copy this. You can copy it from here, you can copy it from here, same thing. Copy this, and after you've copied that, you now go to the users. Then you add a user account. So we are using a Cloud IAM. The principal will be this ID. Then click on add. So it's adding our user account, and it's also going to take a while to get created. Let's fast forward it and see at the end. We are back once again, so it took just little minutes. Yeah, so we are good to go. And the next thing we want to do is, okay, let's grant select permission to the cloud IAM user for the inventory table. So what we just did, let's grant some select permission to that. And to do that, we have to enter back into our database. You go to the overview. So go into the overview, then you connect to the database from the Cloud Shell. So enter into orders so that we can grant the necessary permission to the inventory items. So I have to paste the password again, and now I'm there. So I can grant the command by saying grant select on, then the table name, which is inventory underscore items, then two. So now I'm going to copy the IAM name and our IAM name. So let's go to this. Our IAM name is this, which is also the same thing as this Qwiklabs. So let's go back here. This is our database. Paste it here. Click on enter. Yes, so we've granted the permission to that, and after that, I think the next thing we can do is we can now do a select star count from this one. Which one do you want us to do? So let's do select account from inventory items, and you can see we have so we have 41560 rows here, which is great, which is the number of rows we want. So the next thing we want to do, let's confirm if we've done this, and I think the step should also be complete. Yeah, step is complete also. Why the last task is to configure and test point in time recovery, and to do that we would go to the SQL, which is the SQL that we have here. This is our SQL. You edit the SQL so that we can enable point in time recovery. And while we are editing it, you just go down under data protection. So automate daily backups is already set, but we do for the point in time recovery, and they want us to use the retained transaction log of 7 days. So 7 days is still here also, and they don't want us to enable deletion protection. No, so we are good. We can click on save. So while we click on save, the instance would also get edited. I'd fast forward it and see at the end also. Hi, so our instance has been edited. That's our PostgreSQL instance on Cloud SQL. It has been edited, and now the next thing we have to do is to set up the point in time recovery. We've enabled it already, so let's set it up. So one thing we would do is we can jump out of the others now. Okay, so we've done that. So the next thing we will do is let's check out for the current time at the moment, so that we can set up a point in time recovery to this time. So this is what I'm just going to do. So to check the current time, I can use the command date RFC. So the time should be in RFC 3339 format, and then yeah, seconds. So this is the current time at the moment. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to make a edit to the database now. So the edit would be after this time. So we'd see the database condition at this time. When after I've made the edit, then I'll now do a point in time recovery to this time before the edit was made. So yeah, it will be pretty clear when we show it here. So the next thing we would have to do is you can connect to the instance once again by using open the cloud shell, then click on enter. Let me bring this down. So I have to copy the password and paste it. So let me go copy the password, which is super secret, and we're in tax 4. So okay, let's see. So it would allow list our IP and fast forward it and see at the end. Yeah, so paste our password now, click on enter, and now we are on our database. So let's go into others. Paste the password once again, and now we are on our others database. Okay, so let's go back to the instruction. They want us to make a edit to the distribution center, so sorry for that. So I'm going to copy this and do a select. And we can see what we have, and currently it's 10 rows. So I'm going to make an edit, make it 11 row, then I'll do a point in time recovery back to this time when it is 10. So which is fine. So let's make it 11 row. Let's insert some values into this. Just insert into table name is distribution centers. Paste it here. And what are the values we want to bring in? So we'd have to set the longitude, the latitude, the name, and the ID. So we'll just use some random variables here. Can use just put in some random variables here, and then for the name, let's call it California. Don't want it on cap blocks. California. See. So this is a string, so it has to be in like quotation mark, and the next ID is 11. So I think we are good to go. Let's see. So we've made one insert, and if you go back to this command now, you'd see that we should have 11 here. So we have 11 now. We've added, this is the new one I had at California. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a point in time recovery back to when it was 12. So to do a point in time recovery, what we need to do is let's edit this first. So when we've edited the database, the command to do a point in time recovery is gcloud SQL instances. You don't need to memorize all this command. You can easily see them when you need them. You just need to understand what you are doing. And the name of our cloud SQL, so the name of our database is our database. Copy it. I'm going to remove the white space here. We also want to get our cloned name, and they give us what to use in the lab, which is this. So for clone name instance, you must use this. So I'm just going to copy this guy, go back to paste the clone name. So pasted the clone name, and after that we have to set this point in time. Then we would have to input our timestamp. So the timestamp should also be in inverted quotation. So this is the timestamp. Then copy it, come back here, paste it here. So after that, we can strike on enter. I'm just going to see the command gcloud SQL instances, the clone, the database name, the name of the clone, point in time. Okay, I think we are good. Click on enter. So it takes a while for it to clone the instance and generate a point in time recovery. How do you know it is cloning, and how you know when it is done? When you go to your own instances here, you should see this name getting built up. You should see this name getting built up. So you can see it here, Postgre order PITR, the one that we used here. So you can see instance is being updated. So when the instance is done, it will show you that it's done. And I'll just fast forward it till we get to that stage. Hi, so you can see it has gotten completed, and these are the details of our point in time recovery instance. So this is what we are going to do. We are still on the previous instance. So when I still run the query, I should still get 11. But when I go to the point in time recovery instance, I should now get 10, which is the state of the database at that time. So just to be clear, the first thing I'm going to do is okay. First thing I'm going to do is, this is still the instance, so let me click into it and connect from the Cloud Shell. And enter. Let's copy the password. And another thing to also notice that the point in time recovery takes the same settings as the instance that it was replicated to create. So it's still the same password we used to sign in into this, that we used to sign in into the point in time recovery instance. The password there. Then connect to our others database. Paste the password once again. And after that, you can now select star from So the table we used then was distribution orders, I think. So let me just confirm. Yeah, distribution centers. So copy the table name. And when we paste it, you can still see that we have 11. This is still the normal. It's loading. This is the point in time recovery. Click on it. After clicking on it, then we can now connect into it from here. Open Cloud Shell. So this is not going to work. I have to exit this guy first. I have to exit the DB. So when I click on it again, Open Cloud Shell. So enter. It's now allow list my IP, then I'll be allowed to paste my password. So still the same password as the previous instance. A password now. Okay, I think I have to copy the password once again. The password is super secret, right? Okay, let me attempt to connect once again. Allow list my IP. Paste the password now, and we are inside. So let's go into the orders. Paste the password also. And now we are in orders. So you can just copy this previous command. Select star from this, and now we should get 10 because here we are accessing the point in time recovery instance. So you can see 10, and it's not showing the California that I added here. So this is to show that it works. So let's see our progress. So when we check our progress, let's see. So step complete, and now we have the full score. So you can just check my progress here, and we now have 100 over 100. So congratulations for taking through this lab with me. We have migrated a standalone PostgreSQL database to Cloud SQL. We enabled Cloud SQL IAM database authentication, and we tested point-in-time database recovery. So thanks very much for staying through. If you enjoyed this lab, give it a thumbs up. The code will be in the description of the video. Share with your loved ones, and make sure you subscribe to my channel to not miss out from upcoming videos. Bye for now.